I'm Mara. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we are making a rich, rustic, comforting, super easy, absolutely delicious chicken soup. Now I make my chicken soup a couple different ways. Sometimes I use escarole. If you're not familiar, escarole is an Italian leafy green. It's really nice. It's mild, not too bitter, and it holds up beautifully in soups. Doesn't fall apart, but it's still tender. If you've never tried it, I absolutely recommend trying it at some point. You're definitely gonna love it. But for today, in honor of my Grandpa Jerry and my father, we're going to be using Napa cabbage. Now, I've never been a huge cabbage fan, but I have to say, through the years, they have definitely won me over. It is delicious in this soup. Napa cabbage actually almost gives it a little sweetness and a delicate flavor. It adds wonderful texture and just an overall richness to the soup that I know you're going to love. All right, let's see what we need. Okay, so here's what we need for today. 1 beautiful head of Napa cabbage, celery, carrots, onion, beautiful fresh parsley, and just to give it a little something extra, I like to add this chicken broth in. Now I've made it without, I've made it with other brands, but I absolutely do find that using the Trader Joe's chicken broth just puts the soup a little bit over the top. It adds a little more flavor and just that much more delicious. The other thing I always add, just to give it that little something extra, is better than bouillon. If you've never used this product, I highly recommend it. I use it in so many of my soups, stews, even some pasta dishes. It's fantastic. It's an organic concentrate. It's almost like a paste consistency, and it's truly wonderful. You can get it in different flavors. There's vegetable, beef, mushroom, and of course, chicken, which we'll be using today. And then of course, with anything, you need nice salt and pepper. And what I do is, I really like fresh ground pepper, but I don't like biting into big chunks of fresh ground pepper. So I just simply, ahead of time, so I always have it prepared, I crush up some of the ground pepper a little bit more, a little bit finer, as well as the sea salt. I'm using this pink sea salt from Kirkland. It just adds, again, that little bit extra, always wanting to build on our flavors, and that just gives you a little more something. And so I pre-grind them, takes only a few seconds, and I always have it sitting by my stove, ready to add at my convenience. Okay, so today we're gonna be using whole chicken. What's great about using a whole chicken versus just breasts or legs is you get all the goodness the chicken has to offer. So you have the skin, the bones, the cartilage, plus the dark and the light meat. And it just adds to the overall flavor of the soup. It makes a much richer broth. Medium-high heat. Okay, so to the pot, we're going to add our onion, celery, carrot, and most of the parsley. We're gonna add then our chicken broth. Just pour that right in. Okay, and then I'm just gonna reuse my container and fill this a few times with water, just so we fully cover the chicken and have a little extra, because of course it's gonna evaporate a little as it cooks. We're gonna bring this up to a boil and then reduce it to a simmer for 1 hour. Okay, so while the chicken is cooking and our stock is cooking, I'm gonna prepare the rest of our vegetables. So I'm just going to dice up my onion. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside because these will be added all together. That's the carrots, the celery, and the onions. And in another bowl, I'm going to chop up my remaining parsley. For our cabbage. You just kind of want to leave it whole and slice it like so. So I'm just cutting straight through and then in half. Man, this is smelling great already. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our chicken out first, and then we're gonna strain out the vegetables. Just in case any little bones broke free, we definitely don't want that in our soup. So let's get that chicken out of there. Oh man, it is really tender. Look at that, it is breaking apart as I'm taking it out. Make sure I get all of it out of there. Oh boy, it's just falling apart. Look at that, beautiful. So it's been cooking for an hour. The chicken is super tender, fall apart tender. All the veggies have given up their wonderful flavor to our beautiful broth. So I've taken the chicken out, it's cooling in a bowl, and now I'm going to strain our broth into a new pan. You can use a pan, you can use a big bowl, whatever works for you. Okay, so I've returned my pot back to the stove, and I'm gonna adjust to medium heat. Just lightly coat the bottom of the pan there with some olive oil. Okay, and we're going to now add in our carrots, celery, and onions that we already cut up. There we go. And we're just going to saute these over medium heat for about 5 to 6 minutes until they're just a little tender and smelling wonderful. Now it's always a good idea to saute your vegetables whenever you're making a soup. And what that does is it just brings out the flavor a little more of the vegetables, and it's a much more pleasant taste in the soup. Again, it's helping retain these flavors, whereas sometimes in soup it can be a little mushy and the veggies can be flavorless. That's why we've done these steps. That's why we've strained out the original vegetables. That's why we're now sauteing these fresh, and it just makes for a wonderful, wonderful finished product. Okay, so these guys have been sauteing for about 5 minutes. I'm going to take a second here and just season with a little of my salt and pepper mixture. Always good to season along the way. Just a little sprinkle there. Okay. Now, I'm going to return the broth back to the pan. Excellent. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add our beautiful Better Than Bullion in. I'm just going to do about 1 heaping tablespoon. So just stir that right in, and that is going to just enhance our flavors beautifully. I'm also going to add a little salt in at this time. So we're going to do about a teaspoon of our salt and pepper mixture into the soup there. Okay, we'll give it a quick stir, and then we're going to let that simmer, bring it up to a simmer, let it simmer for about 15 minutes or so. While that's simmering, I'm going to go ahead and debone our chicken. Okay, so I'm just deboning the chicken here. It's still pretty hot, so you want to be careful. So for the dark meat, I just pull it apart with my fingers. However large or small you want the pieces, that's totally up to you. You can shred it small, you can leave it more chunky. It's totally whatever you like. And so I'm just reusing my bowl here that had the vegetables in it to put my bones so they're out of my way. And I'm reusing my either bowl or pan that I had strained the broth in to put the chicken into. So always good to have less cleanup in the end. All right, we are nearly done. Just a few more steps and then we can enjoy our delicious soup. So now we're going to return our chicken back in. Okay, and then we add our cabbage in. And our parsley's in there as well. Fantastic. I'm just gonna stir that in so it's all in our soup. Now we just let this simmer for about 10 minutes so our cabbage cooks. And that's it. Okay, the time has arrived. We get to enjoy our delicious, hot, comforting soup. All right, I'm gonna just top that with some fresh parsley and a little bit of Parmesan cheese. You can top it with whatever you like, Romano, chives, dill, whatever herbs you like. I cannot wait to try this. This looks so delicious. All right, let's give this a try. That is so good. I love the fresh parsley in this soup. It is so bright and refreshing. The chicken is tender and flavorful. The carrots a little sweet, and the cabbage is just wonderful. It all works so well together. You can enjoy this soup as it is on its own, or with pasta of your choice, rice, or a nice hunk of rustic bread. Check out my recipe for the easiest, no knead, crusty artisan bread. It is so delicious. And as always, tell me what worked for you. I'd love to hear in the comments what variations you did, what you loved about this recipe. I can't wait to read them. And as always, please like and subscribe so you can always stay up to date on my latest tips, tricks, and recipes. All right, thank you so much for joining me in my kitchen. Now let's eat.